Hello and welcome to our podcast.
The inaugural edition of Critical Fails, Tales, and Ales.
I'm Joe Franke.
I'm Matthew Houts, and this is going to be a podcast about D&D, because we're both old school, longtime gamers, and about music, because we're both audiophiles, musicians in our own right, and enjoyers and purveyors of all manner of libations.
And other entertaining things that affect nerd culture and amusement.
Sure.
Which nowadays is pretty much everything, I think we'll find.
We're fortunate. I mean, I can remember growing up, if you like things like Star Wars and Dungeons and Dragons, you were almost immediately ousted from society, and people assumed that you were some guy who lived in his mom's basement, which, when I started playing, we didn't have basements in Florida, but if we did, I'm sure I would have lived there.
Yeah, I definitely would have played in the basement. It's the perfect place to do it.
Something about the ambiance of basements in D&D that just go hand in hand. Nobody bothers you. It's cold down there. You can't tell when the sun comes up because there's usually no windows.
We didn't play in a basement until I was 43. But at the last house in Oakland, we played D&D in the basement.
I think I've only ever played a D&D basement maybe once in Chicago, but most of the time I grew up in Florida, we just played in rooms that were like this one with all manner of records and magazines and comics and all kinds of shit all over the place. Yes. So, one of the things that we're going to do in this show, this podcast, whatever the frick it's called, is we're going to have regular segments where we ask each other questions of the week. That will have a range of topics from things like D&D to critical fails, either in life, in gaming, and or otherwise, and stuff about music and just, like the man Joe said, pop culture in general. And the things that we see and like that have formed our existences and now much of the media and our lives. I mean, I can remember a time when superhero was not a genre of film, but rather content of pulp and paper graphic novels and comics. And that's a thing now that, you know, if you were born 10 years ago, you wouldn't know a world without superhero films. And that's not to say that there wasn't the original Superman and Batman when I was a kid on the big screen, but it's definitely changed to where it is a whole genre of stuff. But yeah, that's
well, a successful genre and a genre that people invest in. At one point, I think the idea was, oh, we'll just market this thing, and the fans will love it because they love that crap no matter what we run up the flagpole. Whereas now, it also has to be good.
Yeah.
So they get the same, you know, they get the people, they get good writing.
Well, I think one of the things that's kind of helped change that whole genre too is the fact that, you know, when we were kids, we dreamed of seeing Dungeons and Dragons in movies. That's not to say that the D&D movie was great because it was a travesty, but you know, we dreamed of seeing like video games like that, or we dreamed of seeing like superhero movies, and you know, it just seemed like it would be something that would never happen. And then when the people our age grew up and became the people who were making movies, they were like, why wouldn't we make a Suicide Squad movie or a Deadpool movie, you know?
Right.
So
well, I remember movies like Beastmaster and Krull.
Krull, yes, Krull.
Wizards of the Lost Kingdom, was it?
Krull came out in what, like 83?
Something like that.
I remember seeing him reach down into the lava and grab the glaive for the first time.
And they were horrible, but we took them because that's all there was. And they were, maybe they weren't horrible.
I wouldn't say Krull was horrible. I must have spent at least 5 summers trying to make the glaive in my garage.
It was bad. It was at least bad.
It was. Have you watched it since? When's the last time you watched Krull?
I watched, what's the one with Jack Palance? The
one-arm push-up guy?
Just the crap. See, that would be the time to pause this thing and Google it.
Yeah, we could do that. This is where we'll encourage all of our viewers to send us the answer in our live streaming chat
like
and tell
tomorrow. It's Hawk the Slayer.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It was Hawk the Slayer. So that's one of those bad D&D style movies that you watch because that's all you got. Now people are picky and they want it for free. So
Hawk the Slayer.
Yeah, Hawk the Slayer.
Never seen it. So we did come up with some questions of the week. We're going to try to keep it rotating. And obviously as this thing progresses, we'll take suggestions if you guys want to know things about what it is that we know.
I will take them now, psychically.
So what's the first psychic question of the week that you're getting there, friend?
Oh, I didn't say I was psychic. You got to be a powerful psychic to tap into this business.
Yep. Not enough psionic points spent on your character creation there.
So, Matt, did you see any movies this week?
Did I see any movies this week? I actually did. I saw kind of a production/movie/show. I don't know if it ever went to the big screen, but it was made by Tommy Boy Records, which is the home of hip-hop groups like
House of Pain. And,
and the show was called Kung Fu, F-A-U-X, and it was Mystery Science Theater a la famous rappers talking over karate movies. And the premise was hysterical, and the execution was pretty decent, but I honestly can say I didn't laugh once. But it had...
I know what you mean. I'm not into commentary.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I kind of like Mystery Science Theater 3000. That was good. You know, that was very, very funny and very hysterical. I think it's probably related to the people who did the commentary actually being funny, though. Whereas these people were just trying to talk over the guys talking. So yeah, that's the movie I saw of the week. Oh, I actually also saw my favorite film, Lost Highway, again this last week.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen it in a few years. So it was time to watch it again. It's a David Lynch film, right?
Yes, it is. I remember going, wait a minute, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How's...
The very first time I ever watched it.
Wait a minute, I thought I paid attention.
The very first time I ever watched it, I immediately rewound the VHS tape at the beginning and watched it all the way through, all the way over again. But yeah, it's one of those movies that doesn't really make sense. It's directed for theme and such. So, questions of the week. Have you gotten that psychic response yet?
No, but I do have this paper.
That's cheating. It's not really psionics.
It says music in D&D. So I guess it's almost like a two-parter.
All right.
What music do you think of when you think of D&D, and then what music do you want on while you play D&D?
Good question.
Thank you.
So, what music do I think of when I think of D&D? Sometimes it's like genre-wise, it's like crazy, hardcore black metal, like maybe some High on Fire, some Lightning Bolt, some stuff like that.
Right.
But an old favorite of mine that's always been a go-to when I've DM'd campaigns is the original motion picture soundtrack for Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's a fantastic movie with lots of stringed instruments.
I have that soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a classic.
The one with Winona Ryder. And,
of course.
Sid Vicious.
Is there another one? Sid Vicious is in that movie?
No, the guy that played Sid Vicious.
Oh, okay.
Gary Oldman.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's been dozens and dozens of Dracula movies.
So I would
and they can all be called Bram Stoker's Dracula because he wrote Dracula. Maybe I'm nitpicking here. I think I'm nitpicking. But...
somebody's got to pick the nits.
You know, there's Dracula. I mean, I think the one with the 70s Dracula was probably a disco soundtrack.
I don't think I've seen that.
With Frank Langella.
Mm-mm.
It's, and I think Frank Langella appears in, is he in Gotham? Now would be the time to pause and Google.
I don't know that show either.
In the future, we will be pausing the camera, or we won't have like video commentary along the bottom saying yes indeed or no that's wrong.
Someone feel free to Google this and answer us psychically.
Yeah, I think he's in some kind of police drama. I think
for future episodes we should discern between psychic and psionic, because psychic reminds me of Miss Cleo, R.I.P. Whereas psionic reminds me of Dark Sun.
Wait, Miss Cleo's dead?
She's dead. Also, today, R.I.P.
When did she say she was going to die?
I don't know, but she probably saw it coming. Also today, R.I.P. I can't remember the guy's name, and all the nerds are going to hate me for this, but the guy who played R2-D2 died today.
Kenny Baker?
Yes. And I heard that Mark Hamill posted on Twitter that he was a lifelong friend of his, and he was the droid he was looking for.
Oh, damn.
Thanks, Mark.
I follow his Twitter feed as well. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't look at Twitter today. I guess it's not automatic or psychic.
No. Kenny Baker also mentioned, I think, in regards to playing R2-D2, that he was a little hesitant about playing that role initially, and he didn't just want to get stuck inside of a robot costume for the entire time. which I think is exactly what they did to him.
Yeah, I don't know that he did the beeps and boops that represent his voice.
I can't imagine how he would have. He was also in Flash Gordon and Time Pirates, though.
Oh, yeah?
That's what I heard today on the radio.
As a small robot, or...
Probably just a small thing in general. I'm not sure if it was a robot or otherwise.
Ah.
So, as far as favorite music goes, let's see. We got Bram Stoker's Dracula is definitely up there. Some various assortment of black metals is also a yes. And then I want to say not any, but maybe some versions of Danny Elfman. His soundtracks are usually really good.
Oh, they are.
Somewhat whimsical and mystical and magical. Lots of ethereal type sounding movements and whatnots.
Oh, they're quite good. I agree.
So yeah, that's probably my go-to. Would be those.
I'll feel you, dog.
Especially when it's time to kill some characters. You gotta crank up the bass and the violin and all the evil stringed instruments.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think there's two different types. There's music played while you're playing D&D, and then there's music that makes you kind of think of D&D, like Man of War.
Sure.
And a lot of metal, but it's like the orchestral stuff that I think I like. While you're like the first half of the Indiana Jones soundtrack,
yeah,
before the theme,
yeah,
that stuff is shit's on point for playing D&D.
There's another movie actually I can think of with some music to it that would probably make for great D&D music, but I haven't actually ever listened to the soundtrack standalone. There Will Be Blood with, I think, is it Javier Bardem that's in that? Is that movie about oil and people fighting over oil rights and stuff?
No, it's the name of the father guy. The Javier Bardem is the assassin guy.
Yeah.
And he's also in the James Bond movie, Skyfall.
Yeah. The There Will Be Blood movie, though, I remember sitting down and watching it at the time with a girlfriend, and she got a phone call, and I muted the volume on it, and I lost all interest in the movie, and it made me realize for the first time ever how important music is in theme, and that entire score is all long stringed instruments played very bass notes with slow resonance that creates this very foreboding.
Music is crucial to a theme.
Yeah, but I think that ever since then, I've had this kind of musical theory that stringed instruments are the equivalent of evil in setting theme. If you think about a lot of the
cello, especially.
Yeah.
If you want some mood.
Well, think about
who's that guy? Goretzky.
Gretzky was a hockey player.
No, it's Gorecki.
I don't know.
I'm not Polish, is it? I don't know. I've heard it's pronounced. Well, it looks like Gorecki.
I mean,
it's symphonies for like cello trios.
If you think about the music in Bram Stoker's Dracula, though, when it creates suspense and stuff, it's almost all strings, violins, the reprise, like all of it. Even like when the crescendos is all like
or Mancini
multiple.
or Hitchcock. Strings do the trick, but some synth can make the scene as well.
Sure. Especially if you're playing some Spelljammer.
Or, the greatest trick that synthesizer created was
ever played,
fooling you into thinking you weren't hearing synthesizer.
Touché.
Because it synthesizes sound. As opposed to go, oh, that's that clunky piano instrument, or it's that Atari thing. You go, oh, I just hear music. So there's that group, Midnight Syndicate, and they record like kind of exclusively D&D soundtracks and horror movie stuff.
I should know this group.
Or haunted house stuff. I think someone said, hey, instead of paying $3 for Halloween music, why don't we pay $10? And these guys had a career.
Nice.
And then they did the official D&D soundtrack at some point after doing.
What is the official D&D soundtrack? To the movie Dungeons and Dragons, you mean?
To the game, I guess.
I wasn't aware it had an official.
They made one, and it's in a box in the next room. But they started doing like some Dracula theme. First, it was just haunted house or Halloween music. Then it was a Dracula theme. Then they did like a Call of Cthulhu thing, and then they said, "Hey, why don't you just do a strict D&D one?"
Have you ever seen the D&D movie, the Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Well, there's two.
I'm probably speaking of the one that came out around 2000.
Rise of the Dragon Queen.
I don't remember what it was
There's
called.
I
just remember watching it in the theater and thinking it would have been a lot better if the people who made it ever even played D&D.
Well, there was one with a Wayans brother.
That's the one I'm talking about. And the whole movie is they basically have to go through like 3 traps, 3 conflicts.
Thief.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Quite bad. Quite terrible.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do?
I don't know. I feel like all the types of pop stuff they're making today, like, there's a Swords of Shannara series on MTV, and you got Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings.
Oh, people are hip to. I mean, they're working on a D&D movie, but
it needs to be a show. It needs to be like something that's multiple seasons. I couldn't ever imagine taking like a Paul Kemp book or a R.A. Salvatore book or an Ed Greenwood book or series and trying to cram it into like 2 hours. It's ridiculous. You might get a book into 2 hours, but they really need to do a series.
Would be the way to go.
Yeah, like if you try to do Game of Thrones in like a 2-hour movie, you could maybe make a trilogy out of it. But even 6 hours, that would only be like the equivalent of 6 episodes.
I mean, if I was going to make it, I would do like there's a lot of kind of satirical videos that people make. Like there's a movie called The Gamers, where they essentially film the players sitting around a table, then they film their alter egos running through the forest.
That's pretty cool.
So they get the same people to play both roles, but then one's an epic thing and the other people are rolling dice and eating snacks.
That's pretty cool. That's a good premise, actually.
And then you
what is that
called? Imagination. Like
no, you said it was a movie or something?
Well, there's a few people that are doing it. There was some YouTube stuff. A couple of them most of them are funny. Because there'll be the guy that doesn't show up to the D&D game, and they'll flash, and his guy's just standing there, like not doing anything. And they're like,
he's arrow bait.
They're just kind of like, walking along with him.
Move Jory in front of you, quick! Have him take the arrow.
Kind of funny. Yeah, and there's one called the Gamers. Darkness Rising, Dead Sea. See, that's why we need to pause and Google this crap. But if you're watching this on your computer, friend.
Those could always be topics for next week.
Google it. So, I mean, YouTube is a whole wormhole for videos that are linked. Like, if you like this, boy, that's gonna pop up no matter what.
Should we take a commercial break here and say that today's first podcast has been brought to you by this beer right here,
the Red Hook IPA,
which we would love to sponsor more regularly.
But it costs 3 times as much as this. The champagne of beers.
Yep, brought to you today by those fine libations.
Yeah.
It's Critical Fails, Tales, and that's the ales portion of our show. So we've covered critical tales somewhat and some ales now. Should we talk about critical fails, or should we continue on questions of the week? Should I ask you the same question?
Now would be the time.
Music that makes you think of D&D.
Oh.
Or music you like to play when playing D&D.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like the orchestral stuff, and I did.
Yeah, words get in the way, don't they?
I like classical music per se. I used to, since I had a record store, I would never really play classical music in the store, and it was mainly because of dynamics. It would get really, really quiet, and you'd be like, oh, I should turn this shit up, and then it becomes bombastic, and you're like, oh, I have to turn it down again, and so a lot of times it's recorded with just not enough compression, I think. So, I mean, it's good if it's just you listening or something, but it doesn't. And there wasn't a lot of stuff that I thought was, there's a lot more that I like, and I think mostly soundtracks, various orchestral stuff got me into more classical music in general. And like any genre of music, most of it is horrible.
Yeah, that's true. I always tell people I like 2% of everything.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb
for pretty much all genres.
I think this Theodore Sturgeon rule is.
Do tell Theodore Sturgeon rule.
It's either 1% or 5%. He's like, 95% of everything is crap, or science fiction is crap. But that same rule applies to all writing,
And all people, places, and things as well, perhaps?
Yeah.
Like 95% of Kansas is probably crap. Quite literally, because they probably use shit for fertilizer, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know. I think Lawrence is pretty cool. Kansas City. Kansas is okay.
It's not nearly as good as Kansas City, Missouri, though.
Right, that's the Kansas City,
half,
really. Yeah, that's, you know, in terms of Missouri, which is a horrible place. Sorry, listeners from Missouri.
You guys named your state Missouri,
You know,
so you guys are fully aware that you live in misery.
It's not been in the news for, you know, Nobel Prize winners lately. It's a sad state of affairs.
We should, with all discernment, say that this video podcast is shot from a pocket plane of Mordor inside of a pocket plane of the Abyss. So we have no rights or ties to any state preference in these United States, where this podcast will probably mostly be listened
Are you
to.
worried about angry Kansas people coming to our house? Or coming to my house, rather.
If they can get to this pocket plane of the Abyss in Mordor, then by all means.
Or they know it's recorded on the internet.
Well, if they can find it, then I guess I should be worried. But otherwise we love Kansas. But we're just merely stating the 95% rule.
Right.
So music, anything orchestral.
Oh, I would go with Basil Polidorus, who recorded the soundtrack to Conan the Barbarian.
Good name drop. Fantastic film.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much. That's kind of. I mean, that one wasn't. There. Oh, the sun's coming in. That's why the weird glare.
I thought maybe you were starting to glow. Your shirt was on fire.
I wonder. I mean,
my hand
technically,
disappears when I go into it.
I could move that door.
It looks like I'm holding a
Here,
fireball.
let me pause this. Slap my hand away from the pause.
See, now I have no
button.
fireball. And Mr. Frankie's back, and we're back. And my hand is no longer on fire, but that's okay.
Okay.
So, did you have anything else you wanted to add about music that makes you think of D&D?
Oh, well, I mean, as much as I love punk rock, it is more the metal thing that's pretty closely aligned to D&D, except maybe some goth. But yeah, it's in terms of fantasy and swords, it's like Dio and Man of War and shit like that. But
Dio is in Ronnie James Dio.
Yes.
The very one. Okay. The DDO online game, Dungeons and Dragons Online, actually has a quest called Rainbow in the Dark.
Whoa.
Indeed.
And Rainbow in the Dark's probably the least metal sounding name you could name your song. It sounds more like a Cher song.
Or a Steve Winwood album.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So Joe just told me off camera that he feels like we should hold something up more.
Oh, there's a chip.
I asked him if he thought
I forgot about salt and vinegar. Actually,
brought to you by.
Those were a little pricey, so I don't really want to hype that product. It's like, well, no, I take it back. They were $3.
He said we should hold something up. He said he feels like we should hold something up more, and I asked him if maybe he thought we should hold up a bank. But we wouldn't recommend doing that because that would be illegal. And may get us into trouble, and we don't want that.
No, it is legal. There's no might. Would we get in trouble? I don't know.
Not recommending it.
I mean, if you rob.
Although I don't know. You Second Amendment people, maybe you can.
Luckily, we're not famous yet. So I think the deal is, maybe you get one bank, but then if you're hooked on it and you rob more than one, then you get caught. Because I've read so many stories about these bank robbers. Like, that is, you just do one, right?
Yeah, the guys always go like, rob 7 and get caught on their 7th one.
You know?
I think it's really because those people aren't really about the money, they're about the thrill. That's why you do it, right?
No, I do it for the money.
Well, I mean, folks like me and you would, but how many banks have you robbed?
Legally, 0.
Exactly. I've robbed 0 banks as well.
Officially, I'm going to say 0.
But
I'm even going to give myself credit for one. I just say 0 in case I ever rob one.
Yeah, that's my point.
Which I won't.
If we were to do it, we would just do it once. The people who get caught and we see on the news are the people who aren't doing it for the money, they're doing it for the thrill.
Unless you rob the bank on that day where everyone's like Super Bowl Sunday or something where no one goes to the bank.
That's
and
why I
you
play
get
D&D,
there
though.
when they just get change.
That's why
And
I
you're
play
like-
D&D, though, so that I can rob banks in a fantasy world and live out that fantasy experience without actually having to have the legal ramifications.
Yeah.
Something to be said for that.
I mean, I think I do it for the dragon killing, because there aren't dragons that I can kill just across the line. And what
I'm all about the XPs. The
In
XPs,
real
dog.
life.
Or, yeah, this way. The X. No, it
Is
was
it reversed?
like this.
Oh yeah, because look, I'm sitting
XP.
here.
XP, dog.
I'm sitting here, but on the camera I'm over there.
That's correct. It's opposite.
Whoa.
Okay, so any more questions? One
Uh,
more round of questions. I had a question.
Yes.
Favorite character ever?
Like from movies or
No,
my
this is your
D&D
favorite
character?
D&D character ever.
See, and this is where I become non-creative, because I tend to play fighters, and they're human, and they look like me, and they're my height and stuff.
Their name is Joe.
So, well, no, I changed that part.
That's good.
But roughly, yeah, it'd be a fighter or a fighter thief or just someone I could
So you
kind
don't
of
have like one specific favorite character.
They're all kind of a blend,
Okay.
I would say. I mean, there's been just, if they die or or you join someone else's group 5 years later, but it's always kind of the.
My characters always have permadeath. Once they're dead, they're dead.
Oh yeah, no, of course. That's
We should also
cheating
mention
otherwise.
that I am 39 years old and have been playing D&D since whatever series was out in '84 at 7 years old, which I believe was just the AD&D set at the time. I think maybe my DM had the blue box set. And why don't you tell them?
Well, it'd be the. Yeah, I guess. Well, blue would be the expert set.
How old were you when you started playing?
Well, it would have been. Let's see, I'm 48. It would have been like 80, I think.
You got 3 years on me. But you were
And
older
we
than
were,
I was,
well,
too.
there was also like, I think it took us a year to figure out what the hell we were doing.
I
got
that still happens today.
I got the expert set as a gift, and that didn't have the part of the rules where it says, here's how you play. So there was a lot of weird, there was all this stuff we like looking at. Well, you got the monster pictures, the stats, little stories. You're like, what the hell do we, There wasn't someone saying, well, it's kind of like, I don't know what at the time there was nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, that's true.
So it wasn't like, well, it's like World of Warcraft except this.
Yeah, I can remember. Well, you were 17 or 16 when you started playing, and I was only 7, because there's about 8 or 9 years difference.
No, I was
between us.
like 12, or
And you
I
started-
was like 13 or something.
You started before 1980, then.
Okay. Let me do.
Because in '84 I was 7.
78. No, it'd be like 13 in 81.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was like 11 or 12, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I was 7 in '84 when I started playing.
Okay.
But I mean, I can remember like D&D wasn't always like a thing that was acceptable. I mean, I remember coming home at 7 or 8 years old, and my parents were like, "Where were you? What were you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I was at Brian Ferguson's house playing Dungeons and Dragons." And the look on their face was like, "Oh," they just assumed that I was going to kill them in their sleep. I was forbid to go to Brian Ferguson's house and forbid to play D&D, which made me want to play it even more.
I never got that flack. It was the other way around. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna sit with 2 dudes around a table on Friday night? Well, here's a pizza." It was, yeah, they didn't have that. Of course, that was almost the reason we gave it up at some point. We were like, we kind of
should be out chasing girls and making music or something.
Yeah, so we had to get that out of our system. Once then we restarted later on with all my punk rock friends that were into that same stuff. We're like, we need to do again. Now that we've been laid 1,000 times, play some D&D. And it's cooler when it's your house and someone isn't saying, well, you guys should wind it up or whatever.
Yeah, and you can just play till the sun rises and falls again.
Oddly enough, we did not. Everyone's like, I have work tomorrow or this and that. And you're like, but we could play forever. It's kind of like getting to eat all the ice cream you want.
Yeah.
Till you realize it's probably, with me, I get nightmares. But,
nightmares from ice cream, huh?
Oh yeah. If you eat it right before you go to bed.
That sounds terrible. Well, I know the first campaign I ever deal with you, I know what you're going to fight in your nightmares. It's going to be a giant ice cream monster.
Well, it's not it's the chemicals, the sugar.
Absolutely.
I don't think I eat that much sugar normally. Normally it's barley.
Barley. I like barley. And on that note, folks, 30 minutes have went by, and we'll save all the rest for next week.
All right.
Some powers activate. Form of a harmonica. Form of a swill of beer.
Cheers, bitches.